4,000 years ago, the ancient Babylonian Empire held absolute power over its citizens. The physical weight of its architecture mirrored the totalitarian control it exerted over the minds of its people. That control was maintained through deep-seated fear. The population was kept in submission by a pantheon of stone idols, dominated by figures like the god Marduk, who were believed to dictate the fate of the empire. At the very center of this belief system was the empire's chief idolmaker, Azar. His 7-year-old son, Ibrahim, often stood among the silent figures in his father's workshop. While adults cowered before these figures, Ibrahim looked directly at the unblinking stone eyes. He recognized the absurdity of fearing objects that had to be carved into existence by human hands, using mere chisels and dust. An entire civilization operated on a fabricated lie. One child's empirical clarity created a quiet but profound divergence from the state's mandatory belief system. Ibrahim took this observational clarity out of the workshop and up to the mountains. In total isolation, he studied the celestial bodies his civilization worshipped as supreme deities. He watched the stars, the moon, and the sun. Each took its turn dominating the sky, rising to a position of majestic, seemingly divine power over the earth below. But as the sun slips below the horizon, Ibrahim makes a pivotal epistemological deduction. A true creator cannot be bound by orbits, nor can it disappear into the dark. It must be immune to the physical laws of fading. He severs his ties to celestial worship with a single literal conclusion: I love not those that set. By proving that the stars and sun are bound by strict physical laws, Ibrahim armed himself with an undeniable truth. It was a truth the empire could not afford to let spread. The conflict began in his own home. Ibrahim attempted to save his father, Azar, from the delusion he was actively manufacturing. He presented a strictly logic-based argument. "O my father, why do you worship that which does not hear, does not see, and cannot benefit you at all?" Azar's reaction was immediate and hostile. He threatened his own son with stoning and exile, forcing the first traumatic break between Abraham and the society that raised him. The opportunity for outward defiance arrived on the day of a great citywide festival. The streets completely emptied out, leaving the empire's spiritual center exposed and unguarded. Abraham walked alone into the silent, darkened temple. He was surrounded by a pantheon of unmoving gods, their bases littered with untouched, rotting food. He issued a literal challenge to the inanimate stones. "Will you not eat? What is wrong with you that you do not speak?" Intellectual logic had failed to sway his father. To force the empire to recognize its own blindness, Abraham had to cross the line into physical destruction. He took an axe to the sacred pantheon. Within minutes, the feared deities of Babylon were reduced to a pile of pulverized rock fragments. He made one strategic final move. He left the largest idol unbroken in the center of the room, with the murder weapon hanging directly from its neck. The furious citizens soon discovered the rubble. They dragged Ibrahim out into the public square to face the concentrated rage of the entire city. He delivered a devastating intellectual checkmate. Rather, this, the largest of them, did it, so ask them if they are able to speak. A fleeting, shameful realization washed over the crowd. They knew the idols could not speak, but rather than accept the truth, their humiliation instantly curdled into tyrannical rage. The empire's response exposed its own absurdity. They constructed an execution fire so massive and unapproachable, they had to use military siege equipment just to kill one unarmed man. When totalitarian systems are publicly humiliated by undeniable logic, they reliably default to extreme performative violence to regain their authority. Launched from the catapult, Ibrahim descended toward the center of the largest fire in human history. At the precise moment of impact, physics gave way. The fire was commanded by the Creator to become coolness and safety. The ropes binding his wrists incinerated, yet his skin remained untouched. Inside a vortex of raging flames, he sat within a tranquil, garden-like microclimate. His radiant, unhurried emergence from the smoke proved the ultimate impotence of the state's supreme execution method. The visual contrast was stark. The perimeter heat had blistered the faces of the watching crowd, covering them in black soot, a physical mark of their spiritual defeat. Walking out of the fire salvaged his life and dismantled the psychological hold of fear that maintained the empire's authority. Ibrahim was summoned to the highest seat of terrestrial power, the vast, shadowy throne room of King Namrud. Namrud presented his arrogant, state-sanctioned claim. He insisted that he alone possessed the divine power to grant life and cause death. Ibrahim responded with an ultimate, unanswerable theological challenge. Allah brings up the sun from the east, so bring it up from the west. A heavy, absolute silence filled the room. The king was completely neutralized, defeated without a single weapon being drawn. Ibrahim turned his back on the humiliated ruler, walking away into the vast desert to lay the roots of a monotheistic worldview. Ibrahim's solitary rebellion showed that a mind anchored in logic and undeniable truth can outlast and survive the ideological foundations of an empire.